And Mr. Srinath H. Joshi, sir, General Manager and Chief Learning Officer, Canara Bank. Big round of applause for sir. Now, without taking much of time, I request Mr. Varun Kejriwal to moderate the proceedings. And meanwhile, if you wish to share your thought or ask any question, mic is placed at your concerned table. You just need to switch on and can express your views over the mic. So handing over to you, sir.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for this opportunity to moderate the panel discussion on such an important topic about how the entire future of learning is getting shaped by digital and data and technology. As you can see, we have a great mix of panelists covering the breadth of the banking industry, right from public sector, private sector, to even asset management. What we will try and do over the next 40-45 minutes is more than just asking questions. I'll ask each panelist to share their learnings. When they embarked on transforming L&D or the future of learning at their respective organizations, what worked, what did not work, if they had to share some learnings with us, what would they be? Keeping digital and data at the center of it. Like everyone, just want to set the context with a couple of pages. Can't help a consultant from not presenting slides. So look, I think globally we have seen every single organization which is large and focuses on people really using this new age on data, AI, technology to transform the way learning happens. On the screen that you have, you can see some of, if you go to the next page, please. Yeah, so if you see this one, trying to cover a different breadth of organizations. If you look at MasterCard, they use something called an AI-driven unlocked. So they have this thing called a personalized learning engine, which is using AI at the core of it to personalize learning for each and every employee. If you look at companies like Walmart, they have introduced VR-based learning because they are more customer-facing than banking is. Similarly, companies like IBM and all have done skill-based academy, but they are more driven by IBM. All in all, the summary is that globally we have seen really good adoption of technologies when it comes to transforming the way L&D learning happens. What does that mean when you think of a learning stack overall? If you go to the next slide, please. Look, I think learning stack overall comprises of three big components which have to be the core components. The first is being employee-centric. We may use all the technology in the world, but employee centricity and making sure how they use it is at the core of it. When you design the employee journey, still remains relevant. Second, L&D is different from others because there is a need for a 24/7 access, anytime, anywhere, where people can consume bit size, byte size, whatever they want to. And the third is the more gamified you make it, the more interactive it is, and the more people feel more engaged. So apart from that, now what we have seen in India, players who offer learning tech stacks, they try and cover these three in different shapes or forms using different technologies that are there today. But definitely India has now moved a lot further, and if you look at the vendors in the market as well who help supply these, they do cover all these aspects. What we felt, if you go ahead to the next page, please, is the last thing from my side. I think getting it right requires many things to come together. If you get it right, L&D at the core of it, employee productivity, revenue, etc., should be showing as one of the effects. But getting it right requires business objectives to be translated to L&D, to learning, making sure that employees feel that the leadership is bought into this entire journey and leveraging technology. And more often than not, what we design is not right the first time. So how do you then create feedback loops, etc., to make sure that we understand at the core what learners want? That was just a 2-minute context on the topic. I'll now dive into questions for panelists. I'll start with you, Rajivji. So look, heading SBI, which is the largest bank in the country right now, genuinely, if I had to put you on the spot, which emerging technologies would you think has fundamentally transformed the way corporate learning happens? Could you please switch on the mic, please?
Sorry. Uh, Definitely, Varun, you talked about what all the emerging things and all whatever different organizations have started using today. But first of all, we would, in State Bank of India, we will have to, we understand that using, all of a sudden using technology for something which requires a deep, which requires a total change of methodology. So in our bank, what we have thought is we need to give this anytime, anywhere experience. We need to have this integrated system wherein people can take, as you said, in bits and bytes for their consumption. But we believe more in development part, that is development of the individual. And development of the individual happens only when we do assessments and reassessments. So we want to incorporate the assessment part in our learning management systems. Assessment means the part which analyzes the impact of the interventions we do. So here we have now started one process, and we have identified a vendor who is assisting us in creating whole lot of new LEMS system which will do all these things. We have the data, we have everything. So we are trying to correlate the skill set of the people, their ability to produce, their ability to consume knowledge, and their ability to deliver. So the entire chain of things, learning doesn't mean that he knows things, he also goes back and delivers onto that. So we want to capture everything in this new LEMS. So we have done this, and we are trying to create this together with the skill, creating a skill library for the employees.
I think it's quite, I would have not guessed that, sir, SBI does assessments after training. So it's a very good initiative, I must say, from a public sector perspective. Saurabh, I'll change tracks. Whenever I've heard a head of L&D talk about digital change, and I've tried to pitch some program to them, they've always said, we're not sure how much budget we get from the leadership. How do you genuinely, if I had to put you on the spot, how do you get leadership buy-in on such a topic like leadership development and investing in digital there?
Very interesting question, by the way. Very interesting. Learning is not my agenda in the bank. Learning is the agenda of business, and I'm the one who doesn't advocate learning. Business advocates learning. I'm the one who rejects it. That's how it happens. There was a point of time 5 years ago when I joined the bank, everybody would say that the learning is only functional and there is only product, process and system. People didn't know what learning could do. So we got them to understand that how learning could be a catalyst in transforming a culture, building a sustainable capability shift in people. So we look at learning from 4 big quadrants: need of the role, need of the organization, need of the individual, and need of the R. Now, need of the role is that you study the role and you give all the skills that people require to become successful in the role. Need of the organization is, what am I supposed to demonstrate as a DNA of the organization? If certain things that it is, which is irrespective of the level, man, maturity that I am, I have to demonstrate certain DNA. That's the DNA. That's need of the organization. Need of the individual emerges out of individual's aspirations, needs, behavioral performance gaps, because you study individual. And the last is need of the R. We don't know. We are in a dynamic environment today. We have COVID coming in suddenly, and you're not prepared for it. You have to quickly be agile to be able to adopt that culture. In need of the R, we get people to be ready for the new environment. how do you work in remote environment? That is one of the reasons. When we have this full stack ready and the business understands it and they come to us, then we say that, why do you want it? We don't believe this would work. This would work, and we shake hands. We are on not the selling end of learning. We are rather rejecting learning today at the state we are. This is how I see it at this point of time. So from time of 2019 of 3 crore budget to no budget and unlimited budget is where we've reached today, because we realize that we partner with them on what they want to deliver and not just the budgets actually. So budget's not a constraint at this point of time.
I think you've used deep reverse psychology there to get them to give you the budget, but great to hear this. I'll just change tracks, Himanshu, from a completely different industry but related, I think, from an Axis AMC perspective. You operate in an industry which genuinely moves quite fast, whether it is regulation or movements. How do you leverage AI analytics or all the latest technologies to give a more personalized learning experience to folks at Axis AMC?
Thanks, Varun. Good afternoon to everyone. Really glad to be a part of this esteemed panel. Before I respond, I think, Varun, it's a tad unfair that this question. I think it's difficult to squeeze in the response in 4 minutes. I think it's a topic which could take a day or so if we start discussing, but I'll still try my best to give a snippet. So before I get into what we specifically do, I would say that I think there is there's this extra hype around AI analytics, ML, etc. And in a lot of ways it's also getting peddled as snake oil. I firmly believe that there is only a limit till which some of these things can help. Ultimately, it has to be driven by human intuition, imagination, empathy, and I think this is a room full of HR practitioners and learning practitioners. I think we all are supposed to operate more from the right side of our brain. So to that extent, we use some of these technologies in a very, very restricted and limited manner, because one of the challenges that AI poses is that it's sort of an echo chamber. You hear what you want to hear. And when it comes to an area like learning, wherein you would want people to have diverse skill sets, understanding of diverse domains, and a variety of knowledge and experiences, you can't let them have very narrow views or opinions about certain things. So to that extent, we leverage tech and AI and data in a very specific personalized format. So something that possibly Rajiv sir said, we have also made that as a core of our learning agenda, which is driven largely by assessments. So we have an app wherein there are these regular daily quizzes and contests that keep getting posted, and you use that to get people to brush up their knowledge and learning, because there's only a certain degree to which you can impart knowledge. Ultimately, application is what drives learning, is what we feel. We are also experimenting at Axis AMC with looking leveraging AI as a personalized coach. So one thing which AI specializes like no other technology is that it can personalize content to a large level, especially when it comes to unit level use cases. So for example, one of the crucial training inputs for most organizations, I'm sure, is that how do you train managers to do feedback conversations, developmental conversations during mid-year, during year-end, during regular performance reviews, so on and so forth. I think this is something that AI solves very well. It can create an environment wherein, and we have seen some of this technology already going live, wherein managers can rehearse it and can give you feedback how well you've done a particular conversation. It can give you specific feedback around how you've made the person receiving the feedback feel about the whole conversation. There are use cases around how do you open a customer call, how do you handle an irate customer. So on some of these fronts, I think AI has no parallel, and we are looking at some of these micro case studies to build solutions which can then help improve learning and productivity of our sales teams.
No, thanks. I completely, I think when you said this line about the human element, everyone was nodding. I think while we are here to appreciate the role digital plays, I think no one takes away the fact. I love this idea of personalized coaching, by the way, especially on a topic like feedback, because it's one of the topics where I think everyone struggles initially till they learn how to deliver it. Joshi sir, I think just one question again, leading learning for a bank with 90,000 employees at different levels, different type of areas, and with the spread that Canara has, do you generally have you found practicality of using technologies when you deliver it to so many employees across different scales, bands, roles, etc.?
Certainly. Good afternoon to everybody. See, scalability of whatever technology we talk of. See, technology is one thing which has enabled us for scalability also. For example, for instance, now gamification or maybe use of AR, VR in training and coaching definitely serves a lot of purpose, and of course it can be scaled to a larger, it can be extended to a larger scale. So in that context, I feel that there is as such there are so many possibilities of extending. For example, we have a AR VR solution which we have implemented. Of course, it's in a UAT stage now currently. So AR VR in which we have simulated branch atmosphere, wherein AI avatar will come and he poses himself as a customer and asks so many questions about a particular process or a particular product or service. So which we are going to test the knowledge levels of our employees. It's more of a testing atmosphere which we have created in the AR VR scenarios, wherein the customer will ask the questions and the knowledge level of the employee in responding to the customer, his eye movement, his everything is captured, and of course at the end of the session the customer is the employee is rated as well. So these are all these cases where probably if you think of scalability considering the number of size of the employees we have, I think in the long range, when mobiles were just introduced, at that time the costs were so prohibitive. Now that mobile sets are available, even smartphones are available at 4,000, 5,000 rupees. Over a period of time, if AR, VR technology gets into really in a scalability, if we think of going forward, if these cost of AR, VR devices, if they come down, certainly as 24/7 we were talking of, sitting at home also, probably the way we are giving mobiles to our employees today, we may give VR devices to them, and sitting at home they can do it. That's what I feel, that there is a larger lot of scope for expanding, and it is very much feasible.
But it's great to hear that Canara is doing a pilot on AR, VR on simulating a branch environment. You're right, I think the cost of the device is prohibitive right now, especially with the Make in India, all those regulations as well. But I think I'll change tracks to Captain You now. You're the only one who's not a banker on the panel. So in your industry, if we have to learn something from there, you have very unique skill, training requirements, etc. How have you done it, or what is it that we can learn from a more softer side of things? How have you done training there, which using technologies now?
Yeah, sure. I think thank you very much, Varun, and good afternoon, everyone. Digital is something which has become mainstream now. We all keep talking of digital disruption, but I think it would be good that we start accepting that it's a mainstream stuff. Early adopters could be onto the right side of this stream, and the laggards could be onto the left side, but essentially we have to embrace this entire element of digital. Talking of just digital learning solutions, what we have done is that, number one, we have a learning management system, which is completely autonomous. So autonomous as in, when the user logs in, the system only will give some prompts around the kind of role that that person does. What are the skills that an individual has? What could be some of those aspirational skills or futuristic power skills that person would like to have? What is the aspirational role for that individual? and that system itself will give some kind of a prompt around what could be the courses that individual could do. So that ways we are able to harness the digital platform, and we are able to contextualize it also to the organization and also to the kind of role that that individual does here and now, and also in terms of the aspiration that particular individual may have. So that is what is happening from the side of the back end. From the front ending side, what the learning and development team has done is that we have been able to curate the critical competencies for all the unique job roles. And for each of those critical competencies, then we have mapped out the kind of courses that one could do. We have handed over that to the manager. The manager does that discussion with the individual. Wherever they decide that this is my learning gap, that becomes the online IDP for that individual. So we are trying to blend this entire platform. On one hand side, it is completely autonomous. So somebody like me who is working in the field of HR, I can get into another domain and I can do a certification on project management. But at the same time, if it is aspirational for me to get into, let's say, commercial functions also, I can pick up some courses there as well. Thirdly, my manager can create an online IDP for me. So that's the third thing that we do.
No, thanks for sharing that. I think really like the idea of what role you are playing, what you want to play, and then the courses around it. Rajivji, I'll come back to you again, especially because of SBI and the kind of workforce you deal with. You have this entire younger workforce, the Gen Z, who consume digital learning in a very different way, and you have, the people at the fag end of their careers who obviously consume learning in a very different way. How do you manage this two-speed learning? Because as we give learning, and classrooms are often having both kinds of audience. How have you done that at SBI?
Yeah, Varun. First, let me clarify first. Captain has made my job a bit easy because whatever he has said they have adopted, we are going to adopt that only. That is what we have taken the vendor, and very soon we are going to do this end-to-end process. Very beautifully explained, sir. And now coming on to the multi-generational workforce. Fortunately or unfortunately, it's not 2 generations, but nowadays we are dealing with 5 generations. If you see, and the diversity, earlier we used to have the diversity of demography, the diversity of language. Now this generation diversity is there. So you have to deal with all these diversities in your learning interventions. You cannot have the same system for everybody. A person from retail, person from credit, or person from treasury, all of them need different skill sets. Again, the way you asked about the generations, different generations have different needs, and different generations have different values. Our task is to align them to the organizational values first. Once they are aligned to the organizational values, imparting knowledge doesn't remain a challenge. Use of technology, yes, we are using technology in a big way. We are consuming not only their day-to-day activity data, their learning data, analyzing them into what additional they need, but we are giving this small nuggets, bites, and anytime, anywhere concept we have already introduced. We have one called Ask SBI. So any employee can log in there, they have their login passwords, and they can ask anything. So they can have their courses there. They can. We have mandatory learning systems which is implemented for everybody. role-based certifications, aspirational certifications, as I said. If anybody wants to have some aspirational certifications, they can do those aspirational certifications. And again, we assess, that is what I said in the beginning also, ROI is very important. So whatever somebody is learning, whether he is delivering or not, that has to be assessed, and that we do.
No, thank you, sir. I think I remember Captain's message, and it resonated a lot with the way you are going about it, Captain. I think so. Thank you for that. Saurabh, I'll come to you now. I think you mentioned about need of, and I keep remembering it now, need of the employee org, R, and the role. With the lower attention span that you are seeing now, and the kind of workload that people are facing, especially in the banking industry, in private sector, where we keep reading about high attrition levels and people quitting very quickly. How do you then balance learning where people have this problem of lower attention, lower time to learn, but also making sure that learning is most effective?
Very interesting.
I know.
Very interesting.
Slightly tougher questions for you today.
Yeah. So I would just like to consolidate what I've heard. So let me qualify what Sir just said here. There's no one size fit all approach. Absolutely, there's no one size fit all. It's all about personalizing. We started 20 years ago when we said that let's customize learning to the organization need. Then we started with, we've customized it. Now let's contextualize it to the role. Today we talk about personalizing it to the individual. And now we're moving toward democratizing it to the need, what people want to learn, when they want to learn, and how they want to learn. It's absolutely decided by that individual. The employee decides. Today, the digital allows, technology allows them to consume the learning in the format they wish to prefer. And the AI allows to nudge, personify a learner and look at what is the preferred time the learner wants to learn. What is that they want to consume? What is the format that they like to consume? Do they love to read articles? Do they want to interact with a bot? Do they really want to consume bite-sized learning videos? Do they want to use simulations? All that personification of an individual at a scale happens to an AI. This brings the pull. The time has gone where the learning was pushed. It's the time we create a pull. Push is not the way forward anywhere. And that's where we look at how do we create pull and get people come on board and get excited about learning. Now coming back with the retention span being low, to the point what you said, I would only say that with so much available, the real need is right now point in time learning. Can I, at a point in time that I need it, get a quick answer of what I do, which is where the AI steps in. The AI coach, what my friend just spoke about, Himanshu, that I'm in a point of conversation where I need to have an answer. That's where if I need to, I don't use to register everything in my memory. I possibly need to build on my skills and conversation that we work on and the empathy. So all that which is my emotional intelligence needs to be where people come and we build onto that. But anything that's knowledge, it's available at a click of a button and at a point in time that we give it to them. And that's what helps. And so they don't have to retain everything.
Himanshu, I think you sort of summarized the entire conversation in one. I always feel this problem when I talk to people who are heading L&D. How do you balance in-house how much capability you have and how much reliance you would have on vendors? Each of us has spoken about vendors, edtech players or even faculty from outside. That balance, has always been a challenge. How much do you build in-house? I know SBI has a huge learning academy, even bigger than this place or similar in Calcutta. But I don't know how are you able to balance, or how do you think about it?
So great question, Varun. I wish there was a balance, and I think maybe Saurabh can relate with it. There is never a balance. It's always the pendulum swinging to one end and then coming back to the center and then going back to the other end. I mean, what I can share is that because other than learning, I'm also wearing the hat of an HR head, and that persona in me wants to maximize as much as internal expertise possible, because there are multiple benefits when you leverage internal expertise. You are able to contextualize what you are trying to impart to people. You can share examples and experiences by leaders. It also becomes a platform for people to engage amongst each other. While vendors definitely bring a lot of outside-in perspective, I think what they miss big time is the context in which you're operating, and I think there is no replacement for that. So as much as possible, we try to maximize internal learning. I mean, but yes, obviously you got to use vendors at some point in time and for certain skills that you may not have internally available. But there again, we are trying to leverage technology as much as possible. So create something which can be contextualized to your environment and then roll it out to people, because that ways you can build in your narrative by using a vendor. So our reliance on training vendors is less, but we are trying to work with vendors who can create tech platforms or tech-based solutions. Whether it is in the form of assessments or case studies, caselets, situational judgment tests, so on and so forth. Because then that becomes your IP. You are using your own live cases or a day in the life of whoever to ensure that you drive the right behaviors through that intervention. So yeah, I mean, as much as we want to strike a balance, I think it's always a struggle.
No, and I keep hearing the same thing. It's balance, like it's a skew towards vendor when it comes to tech and analytics and all that. It's a skew towards the organization when it comes to software and learning from leaders. I think somewhere where people have found the right balance is when it comes to soft skills. I think people have built, I know some of these banks have built internal capabilities to do soft skill trainings which reduce the reliance on vendors. But thank you for that. Joshi,
just one point, Varun, if I may add, I think I missed. I guess maybe because so far we had discussed a lot from the point of view of organization and the learning and the learning as a domain imperative. I think there is another side to it, which is the employee side. And interestingly, what I have observed is that employees do not consider anything which is other than sitting in a classroom for 2 days, 3 days as training. So whether you give them tech, whether you give them an app, whether you give them, an online module, whether you give them, a virtual training or a coach, anything which is not about going outside of office, whether it's a training center or a hotel or a conference room and spending 2 days over there, I don't think that counts as learning. I don't know. I mean, we have not been able to crack that challenge. But everything else gets discounted, and that includes, let's say, your EdTech and your, massive online, open courses and stuff like that. I think anything which is available for free is not counted as learning from the employee side.
Yeah, exactly. That's why SBI has 58 centers. Joshi sir, you actually spoke about AR VR as an example that you are doing at Canara for simulating. So I'll just continue that leg. If you had to make a bolder prediction about what would be a big change in L&D over the next decade or so, from your hat of leading L&D at Canara, what would that be?
In fact, gone are the days, because initially we had when audio-visual systems were introduced, probably at that time, it made a lot of change in the way the teaching methodologies got changed and got tuned to whatever was the requirement as well as the availability of facilities. Subsequently, this because of the COVID and all, it has further enhanced the distance between the teacher and the taught. So subsequently, now that it is the AI's, I think the AI thing, when AI is going to rule the entire future of training system, I think there are a lot of ER/VR is one such simulation this thing methodology which will definitely improve the attention span of the person. It is understood that around 70% of the retention takes place if it is a simulated environment rather than a physical kind of a training system. But going forward, I think I am of a strong believer that you can never replace physical training with any kind of this gadgeted trainings or AI-driven training programs. So a proper mix of the traditional training methodologies with the AI-powered or AI-enabled training systems will be the order of the day in future going ahead. So apart from that, also we have introduced in Canara Bank something called as WhatsApp Interactive Training Initiative, which is also going to rule in future. For example, suppose now the employees are not so having good access to the information, though information is available on various of our internal sites and all, but nevertheless people do not have the wherewithal or nor knowing where the particular information is available. Now WhatsApp Interactive Initiative, with that we have been trying to fix that availability of information at the fingertips. So WhatsApp chatbot will listen to the questions and gives out a proper response. It's a very articulated response which will be in the form of some kind of a conversation, a non-formal kind of a training the training also happens. So that also is going to be, I think, I don't know whether any banks have so far introduced that. We are also under in a UAT environment currently. It's working fine. Going forward, that also is likely to be one of the major thing through which the people, the employees learn things.
No, I think so. Conversational part, obviously, making it much more digital. You still think that physical training will remain even after a
Should
decade?
remain.
Yeah, like the way EdTech has come.
I belong
as
to the
well.
old school of thought.
No, thank you. Captain, I had one question for you. You spoke at length about how the journey should be, right? Matching, then IDP and assessment. If there is any organization here which is still to make the leap towards digital in learning, what is the first immediate step you would recommend?
The first step, I think, to my mind, is to jump into it, because that is something which I always feel is here and now. But number one is that when we get into any kind of digitalization journey, and I'm purely speaking from a standpoint of any organization which is embarking on that journey now, T number of times it may so happen that we have not digitized our data sets, our systems, our processes. And I refer to one report published by a gentleman called Dave Aldrich, where he said that he the very famous HR guru, where he said that approximately 17.5% of the information available in organizational context is available as data. What happens to the balance? So either we digitize it and then we go on that digital journey, or as as it was said by him, we continue that learning through the experiential sharing and all of that. So that is one thing which is very important. The other things which would be very important is that we don't try to create something which is off the shelf, but it has to be rooted into the context where we are solving some of the problems for real, or rooting our organization in terms of competencies for anything which is aspirational for us in future. So that will ensure that we have the right kind of edge, and we would have the right kind of sponsorship from the leaders and also from the managers, because they would feel that something real is being done, rather than we have some platform where people come, learn and go, right? That is very important, and I think having that digital mindset, that digital culture is something which would be very important. I think this entire thing has to be treated like a change process, and if we follow those steps of change and we live through them, then we would be able to anchor it in the right earnest so that we are able to unlock the full value of it. Otherwise, it would be just one of those things that we keep doing. Yeah.
Okay, no, thanks. I think Saurabh would have said first thing is to say no, and then the business should ask you, and then you will, I guess, say yes to it. No, but thank you. I think we want to pause here. I think just to summarize some of the learnings that at least I took away from each of the panelists and their personal experiences. I'm still amazed by, sir, at your scale to do assessments and the way you are now going about, the IDP creation. I think sort of you've added a new whole philosophy about how you should not push anything. It should just be no and then maybe pull. And the way you have explained how, business should become the people who ask for L&D rather than HR doing it. Himanshu, thank you for, the very straightforward answer on, what you are doing there at Axis AMC and how you believe vendors, etc., are adding value. Joshi sir, I think thank you for the inputs on the AR VR thing. Genuinely, I think would be very keen to see how that plays out and how you believe the industry is. And Captain, thank you for adding the non-banking flavor here around the entire scope. We'll take a couple of questions, please, and in case any of the if somebody could help get a mic there, please.
Yeah, because this is. Okay, am I audible? Yeah, of course I am audible. Well, thank you so much, panelists. I think it was one of the insightful. There are a lot of insights which we have drawn from what you have just spoken about, and in fact, I'm just trying to relate to a parlance, parallel parlance to this, because digital is something which everybody aspires for. It gives a lot of scalability, and digital had its own journey. Even pre-COVID, there were a lot of attempt to have digital up and going, but thanks to COVID had a lot of negative effect. But this is one thing which has really worked well, especially for organization. The digital adoption has happened within the organization. Now, while that has happened, and there was a time when the organization used to feel that digital is the way forward. Now where we are, wherein we have tasted digital as well, I think organizations are equally realizing that while digital is there to stay, but it cannot take over. I think somebody just spoke about it cannot take over the old school method of classroom. The live digital sessions are also on. My question is, while digital is there to stay, there is a lot of thrust. The future still remains as digital. On the digital platform also, a lot of organizations have already invested a lot on the platforms. They have their own LMS systems, and now there is a lot of offering which are coming from the likes of Knowledge, Coursera, Udemy, plus. I heard one of the panelists just spoke about, business should ask for it. The adoption should happen from there. We should drive business, and business should drive L&D. Well, it is how actually it should be as well. But how do we ensure, and how we have been ensuring that the learner, when he gets a buffet, is he really taking most of that particular buffet which is being offered to him, or the buffet itself kills at all and there is nothing which a person takes away? So is that reality? I mean, while it is good when we hear that that's how it should be, but what is the statistics? How is it finally translating? And is that adoption really happening? Thank you.
I'm going to ask Rajiv sir, because he's the one who's measuring it.
So, yes, you are right when you say that there is lot in the plate to eat. So, how much he should eat, and how much, how you assess it? He should eat as much as he can digest. So, how you measure it? How much he has digested? So this is what we do in our bank, and we are now trying to use AI and digital more effectively in assessment part. That is why since beginning during this talk I emphasized on the assessment part, because there are a lot of things available now. Somebody can say, I aspire to become something, so I will do this aspirational course. I will do this. My job requires this, so I will do this also. And then ultimately he lands up in knowing nothing. So we generally nowadays also what we are doing, we are assessing the impact on him of the training part of the intervention, whatever intervention has been given to him, we are assessing that part, what impact it has brought in his work culture and his productivity.
Should I add something?
Absolutely, Captain.
Yeah. So, as Saurav was trying to bring it to the fore, there has to be learner's engagement. So long as learner does not feel that the learning is going to help him or her, the learning will not happen in the right earnest. And if the learner feels that if I undergo this journey, if I do this intervention, something good will shift for me. Some good thing will happen for me, and it is going to support me. It is going to help me. The learners would be engaged, and they would practice that learning also, because I very sincerely feel that learning is not just about knowledge. It's a very sweet combination of awareness and imagination. Awareness of what it is and imagination of what it could turn out to be. So that's very important, that we learn and then we are able to practice that as well. If we pair that learning with some good practice, that's where the actual shift happens. Yeah.
Perfect. We'll take one more question. Yeah. Yeah, I think Surendran sir there has, and ma'am also has, I think, question. So we can maybe start with sir. I think he raised his hand. Yeah.
It's not.
Sir, the mic, please.
See, for example, any of our employee, the efforts they put in to join the organization, going through materials, appearing for the examination, and then giving the interview, they put immense pressure for learning. Once after joining the organization, it has become obligatory. It may be, I think it's not under compulsion. If it's provided is like, he will take, otherwise no. As we told in the panelists told, different type of training programs are being there, and there is assessment has been discussed. Nowadays what that assessment is coming, I am seeing that it is the one out of the best out of the 4 or 5 answers. So there is no proper synchronization of that assessment, even though they could able to pass. But at the time what they grasped, whether it will be in the development of the organization or the development of the self, it is not there. I think SBI can do some work on this and suggest the which way of training is more efficient, whether it is a classroom training or it is a virtual training or it may be a AR, VR, whatever they are telling. It's really, it is to be a point to be noticed. Otherwise, we are all spending a huge amount of expenses towards this training and introducing technology. Webinar, for example, if you conduct, there will be 1,000 participants will be there. Simply switch on the video or audio, they close the audio, close the video and they'll put on the audio and then they will be doing some other work. That's what I'm telling. It's not under compulsion, means nothing can be possible to do. And our way of assessment is also, we are restricting only with the multiple answers, choosing the best of the 4 or 5. So this needs to be really revamped. Really the organization require people solid, not with the qualifications, only with the experience and then the knowledge. Many works has to do. I think if any of the banks collectively, if they do that kind of will be a real-time experience, and then it is really used for all the organization to follow and adhere.
Thank you for that comment.
Sir, if I can just slightly add to this, because it's very interesting point, and I think, yeah, the impact measurement is, the ROI is important. Without ROI, I think it's just an investment which the organization does. My only point here is, here we are talking about future of learning and digital transformation. Yes, impact is important. Yes, gauging ROI is important. Yes, following Kirkpatrick model is also important. My submission is, I think that's where collectively we all have to go, because when we talk about the assessments and we talk about the assessment, online LMS assessment, what is the sanctity of those assessment as well? When I say that if there are 20 people sitting in a branch going through the same assessment, is it one person doing 20 assessment or 20 people doing 20 assessments? There is no method to gauge that, and hence, yeah, I think we are evolving. But when we are talking about future of learning, I think there is still a way which we have to still go together.
I think the lady to your left, she had raised her hand, so I just asked her. Yeah.
I think I can add to this because everybody's talking about challenging the status quo. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. To add to this, I think all 3 of us are speaking about the challenges that we face as we leverage digital. My question is about challenging the status quo. I see 3 challenges, and my question is, how do we solve those 3 challenges? One is that we're not able to get the mind share or attention span of the learner. They're very busy, they're distracted. We spoke about it in Ramya's session this morning also. The second is, we are having the debate about 70 hours, 90 hours of work expectation. Of course, each one of us has a different perspective, but it's all over LinkedIn. And the third challenge, again, we're talking about the targets that people have to meet to be able to, perform in the organization. When the learner has got these 3 challenges to face, how do we solve that through digital leverage is my question.
So I loved it what you guys, both of you said, and I just want to tell you, the only thing is that we as a company and we try and control it, that learning is empowered. I go back to 70-20-10 principle. 10% is always formal learning, 20% is peer-to-peer, and 70% on the job. Are you creating an environment, an ecosystem to learn? For example, he just told about there's one person doing for 15 people in the branch. I will take pride that one person being influencer in the branch who has the answers to give peer-to-peer learning there. That is the flag bearer. If I am able to identify that one influencer and celebrate that influencer, let me tell you, celebrate the influencer and impart the learning to others, I've been able to bridge that gap. That is where my challenge today. Who are my influencers? Leaders as trainers, leaders as coaches, leaders as mentors. If I am able to identify those people, they are the ones who drive the shift in learning. It's not us always. We sitting at a small function of learning say that we'll change the company and transform it. It doesn't work as that. You need people as one who does it for 15. They are your influencers for me, and I would love to know who they are, because I would want to celebrate them, that if they have the answers, all the answers, that they can get 15 to clear it. I will celebrate them that they impart the learning to everybody and get everybody cleared it.
I feel that rather than there being one influencer, there are collaborators actually.
Collaborators.
So there will 5-6 persons. 5-6 persons will be there who will be knowing most of them.
Absolutely. But the idea is the big challenge today for a learning head for me. Do I know who are those people?
Yes.
If I am able to identify those people, then they are my extended arm. I don't need a learning function. The redundancy that I create as a learning function by not being existing, because they are the ones who can impart very well, is my biggest challenge is, can I identify those people today where they are? And extend. Today we run a program on culture of diversity and inclusion. And I take pride that we have 200 culture drivers who stand up, and we have videos saying that they train 14,000 people managers. What is the impact of how do you address unconscious bias? And it's not the learning function doing it. We prepared them, we certified them, we celebrated them, and they go out and do it for you. And they drive it. They drive it, they talk it, they become the brand ambassadors. That is where leaders as trainers and culture drivers come in important. Where are these people? The biggest challenge for me, I keep telling my team, identify where are these people today. Identify those. And then build a culture of collaboration where they can help others.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for all the panelists for sparing time and sharing genuinely very real inputs. That is
Varun,
useful
may
for all
I
of
have
us.
one point?
Yeah, absolutely, please.
Sir, taking this discussion forward, I want to make here 3 points, which we practically did. I belong to Punjab National Bank, GM, Learning and Development. First, in the nomination, we democratized the nomination process. We took input from the business verticals, or especially field verticals, for the particular program to whom the people they want to send, so that it is the training which we are going to impart, it is useful for their day-to-day life. Then second, we ask the participants to come with some of their real-time problems, so that they can be discussed and it is addressed. And third is, we provided one leadership program even for our now. Earlier we provided for scale 5 and above, then we took it to downward also. And there was no banking discussed in that. It was totally purely on self-realization. And all three, this made huge impact on our system. My attendance improved without any force from around 80% to 90%, 95%. And this was within a short span of 2 to 3 months. Then now business verticals or my circles and zones are asking for that you conduct such programs for us. They are telling us the training needs, these are the training needs, you prepare some program, and we are involving basic some concerned business divisions and that particular geographical area, our circles and zones, for curating those programs, and it has impacted a lot. Same thing we did in now for that leadership. It has resolved their some of the persons' family issues also. It has helped in them. So now people are coming forward. If they have some issue on a particular day, they are not asking that I don't want to come to training, but they are asking, please try to accommodate me for that particular batch. And we are allowing that very easily. We are not creating any issues in that. And that has helped a lot. So I think if we go for need-based, understand the requirement, understand the people, then I think we can play a better role. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that. All the three aspects of nomination, soft skill, and how pull-based training, I think is, thank you for that, and great to hear the impact there. Thank you again, all the panelists, for sparing time, and thank you to the audience for all the questions. Thank you.
So once again, extending our heartfelt thanks to our esteemed panelists. Can we